Welcome to the Finance Geeks, a podcast about real financial planning. If you're into numbers, strategies, and building a great planning business, this is your ultimate geeky hangout.
Welcome to Season 3, Episode 7 of the Finance Geeks podcast. Thanks for joining us. My name is Warren Shute, and I'm here joined by
Paul Cleworth.
Paul, that's nice. I like that one, Paul. And today we're discussing inheritance tax headaches. How do you actually help clients reduce the bill? May I pass over to you, Paul? But before I say that, you look very dapper today. I like it. You're looking sharp, mate.
Am I? Okay. I had a client meeting earlier on today, so I had to make an effort. I'd normally have my little polo shirt on with my embroidered tandem logo on it, but I thought, no, I'm going to put a shirt on.
Do you not wear those for the clients then, the tandem t-shirts?
Sometimes depends on which client it is and whether I want to try and look a bit more
Smart.
grown up.
Do you ever wear a tie?
Never wear a tie in a meeting. No. I don't think I could get the top button done. I'd have all these fat rolls over the top of it.
It's not. It's your neck muscle from those shrugs you do. We've seen the videos of you in the gym on Fast Forward.
Let's move on quickly.
So what have you been up to, Paul?
So I've been having meetings with my accountant, and I feel that I'm single-handedly running the country with the amount of tax I'm going to have to pay, both from a business point of view, both from a business and personally.
Did you get a Christmas card from Rachel?
Yes, of course. She sent me. She can't wait to receive this money, and I'm going to pay them earlier than the end of the year for my business and the end of January personally, because you get 4% interest if you pay them early, and it reduces your actual tax bill. So, but it's painful having to pay it. So yeah, I've been doing that. I've got a flu jab coming up. That's very exciting. I get it free because I'm asthmatic, so I'm going to take responsibility and have that. I think I had COVID last week. I think I had some form of COVID or RSA or something.
Was that when you was with me?
Yeah, I think you gave it to me.
Is that right?
We last week went to a couple of conferences, Humans Under Management conference on the Wednesday and the PFS conference on the Thursday, which you and I spoke at. And I enjoyed myself. I thought they were both pretty good conferences, especially Humans Under Management. And lastly, I've been dealing with my son's Christmas list. My wife has been taking the brunt of this, but for a 10-year-old's Christmas list that has got things on it that he's seen on YouTube, trying to find everything online or some of it, very tricky, very stressful. Do you just buy them one thing, one big thing and 5 small things, or do you give them 20 presents? What do you do?
I don't. It depends who you talk to. I'm quite sort of more about experiences and talking to them and stuff like that, whereas my wife is more about gifting and buying them things. I'd rather them have less more often, so when they've got it, they enjoy it and stuff like that. Whereas you get too much. My belief is you get too much on one day. It's like, oh, what do I play with? And it's just overwhelmed.
Well, we're going to Australia for Christmas, and we said to the boys the other day, "Your present is the flight. It's the holiday."
Well, they say, "Yeah, I'll stay here."
We're like, "What? No, nothing in the."
I tell you, when we went to Australia once over Christmas, my wife took most of the presents out with her, which I have no idea why she did that. It was a crazy thing. And some of them were so heavy. And she bought my daughter some of these trainers, they were quite big, chunky trainers, and they didn't fit. So not only did we have to carry them around over there, we had to bring them back. And when we got back, we had to go to the shop and change them for another size.
It is a £500 Amazon voucher. Go knock yourself out. Warren, what on earth have you been up to this last week?
Well,
I'm not going
to mention the house move because that's still ongoing. But I too loved. Do you know what? I loved Hum. I think Andy does a fantastic conference. I'll give him his credit. It's always better when we're speaking, but he also does a very good conference. There were some great speakers there in Venice. And Philippa Han, I thought you were rocking that green dress. I thought you looked great in it. And I told her and her partner at the conference looked great. So that was really, really good. And I actually thought our recording of the Finance Geeks podcast, which probably will be next week or next episode that comes out, was really good. I thought you and I did a live recording on stage.
If we do say so ourselves, I didn't think I did a good job in it. I thought you were much better in it than me.
No. I think you did. I think we come across really well. We're different in our approach and stuff like that. You're the wise one and stuff, and you got all the. You are seriously.
Well, we were talking about our journey, weren't we? About building the firms and the future, and how it's not just about turnover and AUM, but it's much more about building a business that matters, that has a decent meaning, that actually runs to help your clients live their best lives, and just has different goals. And hope that came across.
Yeah, I think so. And then on Saturday, I was at a meditation kind of not retreat, but event I've been meditating for decades, years, since I did the martial arts and stuff.
We're losing listeners. We're
It's
losing listeners.
no, honestly, the most powerful thing you can do ever. Breathing, conscious breathing, not just like breathing in and out, but proper breathing and meditation.
So you went to a meditation retreat. Go on,
Kind of, yeah.
explain that to me.
It's just it wasn't really a retreat because retreats normally go over a weekend, but like an event. So there was
Right.
a room of us in Cheltenham, about 20 people or so, just discussed and did various meditations, talk about different techniques, that kind of stuff. I love it. Do you know what? I think I meditate twice a day, 20 minutes a day. So I meditate 40 minutes a day. Okay. I've done for years.
How'd you find the time for that?
First thing in the morning and then before I leave the office. So, normally around about 6 o'clock, I meditate till 6:20, and then I'm back home by about 6:30 or so. And then first thing in the morning, after I've been in the gym, before I go and get a shower and stuff, I do a meditation.
Do you just mean sit with your hands on your knees and don't say anything and just close your eyes and
No, so I do
take it?
transcendental meditation. So that's a technique you learn. It was popularized by the Beatles and a lot of is it Schultz, Harry Schultz from no, that's the Starbucks guy. The Starbucks guy, he does it. There's loads of famous sort of CEOs in the States who do it and stuff. It's very, very powerful. Very, very powerful.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on.
we're losing everyone. It'll get your mojo back, get your energy back, I promise you.
Focal point.
Focal point today, inheritance tax headaches. How do you actually help clients reduce the bill? Great topic, right? Great catching line.
Well, it's topical at the moment.
Incredibly.
And it's, more so because as a financial planner, you work with clients with assets, with money, and that estate that's now, or that pot of money that's now will be taxable is going to inflate in April 2027 for those people with pretty big pensions. And property prices over the years have gone up. And when you consider all the bans and the allowances, they're all pretty low. I mean, the UK has got arguably a very high level of inheritance tax to be paid. Anything over £1 million, and 40% is quite a big amount. When you consider, as we talked about in a previous podcast, in America, it's like 10 million.
I know you know this, but just to make it clear, that's obviously for a married couple, the £1 million.
Yeah. Married couple with resident bill rate bands as well.
Stuff like that, without a home, living like in a rental or something, it's crazy. It's ridiculous.
It's just the bands just haven't. The nil rate band, the 325,000, just hasn't indexed as it should have done over the years. And we've got this situation where you talk to clients that have got £1 million estates. I saw a client today, £5.5 million estate, and married, got kids. And I said, look, you're well over 2.7 million, so you've lost your residence nil rate bands. You've just got the two nil rate bands, 650. There's a big tax bill. And they sort of went, whatever, just because they're not going to have to pay it. Their executors of their will pay it, and their kids will still inherit a pretty sizable amount, assuming they haven't sort of spent it all or given it away by then. And so one of the things I do for clients is say, look, how important is it to you, to mitigate IHT? Because it's a voluntary tax like CGT. You can do things to mitigate it completely. We work out what the liability is and we take action.
I think what you said there is really, really important pre-frame. And that goes for any topic. If you're a financial planner, listen to this. Don't just jump in and try and solve your client's problems because they may not be important to them. To ask the client first and foremost, how important is estate planning for you? Mitigating your inheritance tax liability. Some clients will say, Warren or Paul, it's not important. You've told me I've got £1 million or so liability. Kids are going to get 3 million or whatever. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I'll just enjoy it. Yeah. Whereas others, normally the wife, and I got to be honest, I do look at the female when I ask this question because the female, it's really important. I don't want my kids paying all this money. And then you get the, going in, you offer your solutions and stuff.
Yeah. So I tell you what I'm not a fan of. Once we've established, for example, a client does want to take action and mitigate it, I'm not a fan of allocating monies in a way that's going to reduce their access to it considerably, or jeopardize the monies for the purpose of benefiting tax. So using BPR type products, getting the money out of the estate using, EIS, over 2 years using AIM listed investments and that sort of thing. I'm not a big fan of that. I think it's complicated, it's archaic, it's difficult. For the right client, maybe it's a solution. What we try and do as financial planners, of course, is help the clients live a life or get to a point in time where they've got sufficient monies to pay for all of their living requirements, their expenses, and show them they're not going to run out of money. And then you say, oh, you got this big estate, you got this tax liability. start spending it to reduce the size of your estate. I think that's like one of the first things you can encourage them to do. Start spending it.
Let's jump back in on that, because I agree with you about the BPR and the AIM listed companies and things like that. Let's jump in on that. It's almost like, don't do something to potentially save inheritance tax. If you look at the performance of a lot of these investments over time, the client's actually giving up so much growth. And often, not always, but often they don't actually deliver what they promise. And you can look a bit silly.
That's the far end of the spectrum, isn't
simple.
it? Those sort of products are esoteric, they're expensive, they're difficult to explain, and even if clients fully get it, they're costly.
I don't think
and
I've ever done anything like that.
Well,
I haven't.
just
I don't. Yeah, I
don't
don't
like
think
it.
yeah, just never done it.
But so one of the things I think is important, one of the things that we do at the moment is show the clients, if they're prior to a meeting, is ask them first of all, do they want to talk about it? Because there's no point just including it in an annual review and showing them all the numbers and figures if they're not actually that bothered about mitigating it. What's the point? Just to be compliant. So we've decided now to ask the clients prior to the agenda meeting, do you want to cover off? Do you want to focus on inheritance tax planning? If they say yes, we'll include the figures, the breakdown, and we'll show with all their existing assets that are in the estate today what the tax liability is going to be. We then have a second section in the report that says, look, you've each got pretty big pensions. From 2027, the bill will be this, and show them that the IHT bill will be even bigger. And then we have in the appendix a document that says these are all the traditional ways to mitigate inheritance tax, from use of annual exemption to gifts out of normal expenditure, gifts into discretionary trusts or whatever, CLTs, whatever you want to do. It then begs the question, is the tax tail trying to wag the investment dog? Is that the expression? It's you're trying to solve a problem sometimes. Yeah, you're trying to solve a problem sometimes that either the client's not interested in or not bothered about, or that just isn't easy to solve. There's no easy way, if you've got a £5 million estate, to just get it below £1 million. You just can't say spend your money. Just spend all your money. It's like, how are you going to do that if you live in a £1.5 million house? You're already well over the allowances. Let me hand over to you and ask you what you do, because I'll tell you what my preferences are in a minute. What do you mainly do to mitigate?
So the slight difference for us is we will raise it with every client. We ask them about what their priorities are, but in the meeting we will ask them the question, and if they're not interested, so that's fine. We just want to make sure you're aware and make sure your children are aware, because they'll be paying the bill. Your estate bill tax liability is going to be about this amount of money. So we want the kids to know, because they're going to be paying the bill. We don't want them moaning at us for not covering the liability.
The executors are going to pay the tax, but only if the children are the executors of the will. Yeah, so I know you're saying the kids pay it in effect because they won't inherit the money because it goes, but you can't then bring the kids on it, because they'll then make the parents do work to mitigate it on the basis that they'll benefit.
What I want to make sure is I have a happy family, because we generally deal with the children going forward. And I think communication to any relationship is really important. So I want the communication line to be in there. Hey, look, kids, we know we've got £1 million plus IHT liability. We've decided not to do anything about it because we don't want to spend the money. Hey, I don't care if the kids pay the premium. I can take the policy out on the parent's life and assign the policy to the kid.
Yeah, I said that before to clients. You're the one who's going to benefit. You pay the premium. It's £300-400 a month, or you pay it.
So I'm trying to simplify things out. There's 4 things in my world that you can do with estate planning. Okay, it's just 4 simple things. Say again.
Shoot.
Warren,
shoot. Number 1.
Insure it.
Yeah.
Okay. Insure the risk. Love that one. Gift the money away, either absolutely to an individual or via a trust. You can buy qualifying assets. And this is what we're talking about, the BPR, APR sort of investments. Or you can just enjoy it and spend it. So you summarize all that complexity down to just 4 simple things. Now, of course, our preference is to spend it and enjoy it. The conversation this week with a new client, it's hard for people who aren't used to spending money to automatically start spending it. We kind of like get them to nudge it up a little bit. Go out for dinner a little bit more often, buy a little bit more expensive wine, but that's not always going to make a dent in the figures. Start flying business class. That makes a bit more of a difference. Start doing a bit more long haul. These are things that you can do to enjoy the money. As long as the cash flow stacks up, then why not? We do a lot of trust planning. We do gift a lot of money away into discretionary trust during their lifetime. And we do a lot of trust planning within wills as well.
So are we talking about, in your case, doing 325,000 nil right band every 7 years, husband, wife, into a trust, and you just keep repeating the process? You do a lot of that?
Yeah. So typically 325 each, so 650. every 7 years. We try and get pets and see it. We try to, and it doesn't always work. We try to have a year where everything's done. So you do the pets and the CLTs into the trust, and then they wait another 7 years, and then they repeat the process.
Well, are you doing more than the nil rate band and incurring the 20% charge? But that's only a discretionary trust, isn't it?
So each individual can do 325. So a husband would do 325, wife will do 325. So that's 650 that can go into the discretionary trust, and then they can do pets in addition to that.
Well, look, I know, but what I'm saying is that if it's in a discretionary trust, 325 each, there's no chargeable lifetime transfer tax, the 20%. Obviously I know that, but what I'm saying is, do you end up doing large lump sums above and beyond that?
No.
Gifts out of the estate to kids that are pets?
No? Yeah. So sometimes I don't tend to give
to an absolute to a bear trust.
No, not normally. Not normally. It'd be very rare for our clients to want to gift away more than 650,000 if they're a couple. Very rare. Yeah. They might do, but
what size estate do you need to have, in your opinion, to give away 650,000 every 7 years?
Oh, it would just depend on the cash flow. That's all we simply look at. So it depends.
Well, they've got to have assets to be able to do it. They've got to have cash or investments to sell down to cash to put into a bond. They've got to have the money in the estate to be able to do it that they don't need access to.
No, we can do rental income. We could do buy-to-lets or something. So we'd gift a buy-to-let into a trust.
But by definition, by giving money away, as I always say to my clients, if you're putting something into trust, you're giving it away. You might, with certain trusts, gift and loan or discounted gift trust, retain some access or with to the monies or requirement for income that you have. When I think about it, let's say you've got a £10 million estate, expensive house, £2 million, few other houses here, abroad, big pensions, ISAs, GIAs. You've got all this money. If you just don't need a huge amount of income per month, you only need 10 grand a month, say only, it means that you could get away with an estate of liquid assets that are at 3 million-ish. 3 million at 4%, 120 grand a year. It's withdrawal of capital, very tax efficient. So you could give pretty large amounts of your estate away. But for an average person that's got assets sufficient to just pay themselves, the monies, they don't necessarily have loads of surplus capital to just throw into a trust or to gift. There might be the odd bits.
Yeah, our preference typically is to look at illiquid assets. So if we can get a buy-to-let and then transfer the buy-to-let into a discretionary trust, let the client still continue to enjoy the rental income, but then we can just transfer that. And then over a period of time, we can just get all of them out of the estate.
Won't the trust pay the buy-to-let pay the rental income to the trust?
No, we can retain the rental income. So there is a section.
Oh, okay.
There is a way of doing it. So you can transfer the capital. And this is going to be a great one because we have loads of viewers saying, no, you can't do that, can't do that. And that's really why I'm bringing it up. So you can transfer the property into the trust and retain the rental income. It's not a gift for reservation of benefits. So that's a really cool thing to do.
See the show notes, very long T&Cs about how that's done. Obviously, that's something that you do and are good at. I'll tell you what my preference, though, is. When I think about it, I've been doing it more and more with clients. You get clients you give pets. We've had that a lot. Clients transferring monies from mum and dad to children, either internally on the platform, whether it's on Transact, our preferred platform, and we're moving monies between family members and calling it a pet, which it is, and we're using the £3,000 annual exemption and the previous year, and we're then filling out gift registers to specify the monies because you've got to do that, and there's got to be an audit trail of actual transfers of monies.
Jumping on that, because that's a really important point for listeners. It's a good point. We use the exact same thing. We take the IHT 400 form at the back. We've got the headings. In the back of our agenda, we just record all those points. So like Paul's saying there, he has an audit trail, records it. It's a really good idea to do that. So then it helps the executors on a claim.
The relevance, of course, is husband and wife die, mum and dad die. You're doing the IHT 400 form, and there's going to be inheritance tax liability, and somebody along the line is going to say, well, let me see the previous 7 years of transaction history, bank statements, credit card statements, transfer statements, all of this. Let me see what's gone on. And if you can demonstrate what was given when, whether it was more than 7 years ago, hopefully, and that there's a physical transfer of assets of cash, it can't be theoretical. It's got to be an actual transfer of monies. And, if you've got the right paperwork and a proper gifting record, which, to be honest, the client can do, we give them a pro forma, but we ask them to give it us back so we keep it on our system. What's the point in them dying and then keep having it in the safe somewhere or no one knows where this gift register is? It's harder to unwind then. So get organised, keep the gift register with your advisor on a platform, on the back office system. But my preference personally for people that are thinking about IHT planning in their late 50s, early 60s, which is mostly when people I think start to think about it, and it's not as imminent if you've got good longevity. My preference is protection, is
Yeah,
insurance.
yeah, I agree.
If you can get insured for standard premiums, did one recently where a client's applying, they've not accepted yet, but they're early 60s. They're applying for £1 million of joint life second death cover, but
Sure.
instead of a whole of life policy on £1 million of cover, which might be 20 grand a year, you always say, don't you, 2% of the amount of the sum assured, that sort of figure, which is like 1,600 quid a month. We're doing a joint life second death term assurance policy to 85, and it's £293 a month. So the plan is get that up and running. It's only £293 a month, which they can afford. But instead of paying it monthly, we pay it annually, get a slight discount, have it taken out of capital. And then, of course, these clients have got to spend their money and gift it away and reduce the size of their estate before, 70, 78. So 7 years before the 85-year term or age 85 runs out. So I quite like that, although it's not definitive. And a compliance person might say, oh, that's not as good as whole of life. It's not fixing the solution. It does give them 25 years to spend their money and start reducing the size of their estate.
Yeah. Hey, I think anything that you can do, we would do whole of life, but I think anything you can do to help mitigate these things is important. And I think also the other thing to bear in mind is these are typically, like Paul said there, gifts out of capital. So they need to be recorded as chargeable lifetime transfers, going into discretionary trust. You can't just think, oh, we'll ignore that. We've still got our 3,000 allowances and stuff, because normally that's minimal. These premiums take that £6,000 out of the water, for the joint life policy. So making sure you record all this stuff.
One of the things that this suggests as well as part of our discussion is if you're working with couples that are in their 50s or 60s and you want to help them with tax planning, IHT planning, estate planning, all of this, getting the children on board, getting the grandchildren on board, transferring monies into platform, getting them all connected and linked together, it ticks so many boxes. And you've probably seen it yourself, Warren. When people unfortunately have an illness or pass away or something happens and the money's all the family are connected on the same platform and they understand, they could decide to look at each other's portfolios, and sometimes they allow that now Transact, but the kids don't automatically see the mum and dad's. By doing that, we're doing quite a few internal transfers within Transact from mum and dad to children, and then discussing it with children about, look, this is for long term, we'll top up your ISA, your pension, we'll do all of this, and educating them about investing. And it takes a lot of risk and hassle off the table.
Making sure that we would quote for every single client a whole of life, or you could do it to age 85, or some kind of protection policy to show, okay, this is affordable. How important is it to you to do this? And you add the premiums up based on how much money is going to be transferred down to the children, into trust. Typically, you're going to pay in until you're 120, 130. How many people are going to live into that age? It's always going to be, a winner.
It's easy maths when you think that if in your example there, if it's £1 million of cover and it's 2% premium, whole of life, 20 grand a year, you've got to live 50 years before you're worse off, essentially. And I think that having access, if you've got a big enough estate that you can pay it once a year, for example, out of the plan, which is sometimes less painful than monthly, and the client really wants to save it, they've got access to their funds then. They've got access to their capital. And they can, I don't know if do you find that with these providers, if you set that up, can you reduce the amount of cover with the provider as the estate reduces and the liability reduces to reduce the premium as well?
We don't normally, and the reason being is, bear in mind, the premiums are taking money out of the estate. And that's the way I describe it to clients. Look, we're just transferring money out of the estate we do a monthly, typically, on a monthly basis. It just so happens that if you were to die before 130, you're going to get back more than you've paid in.
I think it's all a matter of mindset. If someone's got a portfolio where they're, let's say, earning or drawing from that portfolio £7,000, £8,000, £10,000 a month, if you tell them that the premium for this is 1,600, they'll say, I can't afford that. And it's about how they look at it, isn't it? Well, you're not going to be paying it out monthly income. We'll take it out of capital. The cash flow still works. All the numbers work, and you're solving the problem. And we know there's no IHT between spouses, but we know that it's possible for one to die and the other to die pretty quickly. And you just can't get to 82 and then say, do you know what? I think I've got a £10 million estate. I want to try to reduce the size of this estate. And you're like, well, you might not live 7 years. You're not going to be able to spend it all that quickly.
Uh,
You're not going to get insured.
I think, understand, and I don't want to go into the detail behind it because it is incredibly complex, but understanding the domicile status of your clients as well. So
Yeah, of
if
course.
we have several clients who have married European ladies, for example, in just making sure that you understand the implications because it's not always a spousal transfer between spouses when
Yeah.
one's a non-domicile. So
Yeah, I think if you got to a pretty big size estate and you didn't want to pay it, your main option is move abroad, become non-domicile as soon as possible.
it's going to be
And I
hard
don't know
to
whether
it's hard to
what's
do
that?
though.
You're right. You got to be fully leave and so
Yeah,
forth and tick all the boxes for it. I think that Rachel Reeves has talked about charging
exit charge.
a leaving tax and
Mm,
all the rest of it for people to move abroad.
yeah.
And I saw quite a good meme of her recently with all the non-doms that are probably millionaires that have left the UK. She's on it's the white walls of Dover, and she's going, "I'm sorry, please come back." Non-doms
It's
forgiven.
we're very brave doing this. We're recording this the week before the budget, so this could all be nonsense by the time you guys listening to this.
Maybe, I suppose
It's
so.
all there's rumors about the 7-year rule changing and gifting allowances and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's we might have to revisit anything, but I think principally you're not missing anything if you're a planner out thinking what can I do. Gifting money, should I say, start with spending money, start enjoying it, make sure your clients are living the life that they want to live and doing
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
they
yeah.
want to do. And then, much better to help the clients now, their children now, if they want to, rather
Mm.
than on their death. Most families want the most help in their sort of late 30s to sort of late 40s. Do you agree? That's the kind of high
Oh yeah,
spend,
yeah. If you
spend
probably
period.
possibly even earlier. If I've just seen a couple today and they're 53 and 56 and got three boys, either at uni or finished uni recently, and they've saved for them. That's great. They've got pots of money to buy a house, but if you've got a big enough estate to allow, if you're going to do it at the right time, maybe it's for a wedding, maybe it's when they're at the late 20s, early 30s, they've established a career and they need a lump sum, and you want to give them that, and they're responsible young adults. I mean, 30s, totally there.
Yeah.
For if that's the case, if you're going to give with a warm hand rather than a cold hand, or with a warm heart rather than a cold hand, if you're going to give money, do it during your lifetime. And what's interesting is the mindset is really important. I can't believe that it's so difficult for people to snap their fingers and go from saving to spending. It's
Mm,
like the discussion so much with advisors. You build a client's pod up to 1 million, 5 million, whatever the figure, and then you just say to them, "Go spend some money."
yeah.
And the reality is, and I thought about this a lot, that if you can become financially independent at 60, if that's a good goal, better than 65. If that's your goal to become financially independent, you don't need to work. You could choose to work. The reality is between 60 and 75, you're going to want to spend more money because your health and your energy is probably going to be such, and your motivations, it's to do it then.
Yeah.
So bring forward those future years, that income. Don't just die with a pot of money that's bigger than when you retired at 60. Spend some more now and speak to the advisor about that. We want to do all these things. What is it going to cost? Let's do them.
I don't like to see my clients' cash flow either maintain or even increasing. When they're in their 50s, 60s and you see it going up at 45-degree angle, the client's got a smile on the face. I'm like, no, this isn't good.
It's
This means that
bad. It's the other
40%
way.
of this is going to go in tax. We need to enjoy this money. Either you
Yeah,
do or your children do. Let's start
yeah,
transferring money out of your estate and do it that way.
yeah,
And I think there's lots of things you can do with your will as well, making sure you either partner up with a good estate planner or do it yourself, making sure that you're making the most of that. And one
yeah.
thing that we've started doing is really, really encouraging our clients' children to get a prenup and a postnup if they go and get married, because we
Okay,
could,
that's interesting.
typically excluding inheritances. That's the primary thing that we want. So prenup and postnup, you can put in there pretty much what anyone will agree to. We're not saying you exclude everything, but any money, any family money that comes to me is off the table, kind of thing. Because we
Okay.
can see what our clients' children are going to inherit in, money going into a trust and stuff like that can make it very attractive for them.
We've haven't really spoken about gifts out of ordinary income or ordinary expenditure. It's not something that is going to dramatically change one's inheritance tax position because it's just income coming in that you give away. It's typically 20% up to doesn't affect your standard of living. You start this regular income to someone, this regular payment out of a taxable form of income. It sort of can work, but that plus the annual expenditure at £3,000 and the annual exemption, sorry, at £3,000, and the these gifts in lieu of weddings and stuff, £5,000 on wedding, they're all so small. You have to do either a pretty sizable pet, a lump sum, CLT into a discretionary trust, insurances, spend the money. There's not some magic bullet.
No.
But as IHT, I think accounts for, well, it was 0.8%. It's about 1% of the total tax take of HMRC. And if anything, that's just going to go up.
We haven't mentioned family investment companies and stuff. I think for my son,
You do them? Do you do fixed with your clients?
It's the complexity behind them.
Probably shouldn't mention it because neither of us will be experts in them.
No, and that's what I mean. But there will be people out there who do them.
Yeah.
But my concern is around the changes which can potentially happen with them and the complexities in them that we don't do them.
What else came to mind actually about mitigating IHT? I like to do offshore bonds with DGTs, and it's sort of, I used to say, it's have your cake and eat it. You've got a lump sum to put away. Let's say it's 500,000. Don't tend to do them for less than 300,000. Did one not so long ago, 300,000, 5%, not income but capital withdrawal, 15 grand a year, 12.50 a month. Client was like, good. I'm not giving away that requirement for income. But after 7 years, well, in this case, I think we had something like 60% of the initial 300 grand was outside of the estate on day one. The discount, the remainder takes 7 years. So I quite liked that. And the other thing that's totally relevant is clients have got big pensions that are old, that are in their 70s or 80s. They've got to consider, in my opinion, start utilising their basic rate band fully. So I had a client the other day, he's 81, has a very big pension, doesn't really need the income, and his total income at the moment is about 35,000 a year. And I said, well, we should at least draw another 12 out of the taxable income to push you up to the higher rate band. And now I've said, look, we might even draw it out up to 100k, another 65,000. We'll pay some at 20, some at 40%. But better that and have the money now than two things happen, because he's over 75, IHT 40% on it, and then the recipients of it pay for their marginal rate of income tax on it. So assuming they receive it as a lump sum and so forth. But it's encouraging a client to spend the taxable part of their pension. And this is Rachel Reeves' dastardly plan.
Yeah,
it's kind of twists her mustache. Spend your money now.
It's turned the on the head, really, hasn't it? We have all these pensions that we never touched for years. And I'm still, I'll be honest, I'm still in that sort of no man's land of deciding whether it's better to take money out of the pension now. Something happens with them in the next 2 years, it's taxable, damn, or leave it and then start it in 2 years' time. But okay, if I do it now, I've got 2 years more of planning behind it. It's a real tricky area.
Well, we've done a couple of ones where the clients have got £1 million pensions. We've taken the 25%, the 250 grand in that case, simple case, out, and intentionally put that £250,000 into a bond in trust.
Yeah.
And said, well, the pensions are coming into the estate. Why are we waiting? Clients that had already had a big pot. The tax-free cash wasn't going to get any much bigger, 268, 275 the maximum. So we've just done it. And I think there are cases where clients are not using their basic rate band between when they retire or are financially independent, often at 60, and when state pension comes in, when they are going to use it. And if that's the case, using their personal allowance and possibly all the way up to 50 grand, you've got £1 million plus pension, you might as and you've taken your tax-free cash out, but it's still big. You might as well draw the money out, pay 20% tax on it, and enjoy it. Just use your basic rate tax band. I mean, 40 is a different story. Considerations with all of this. It is a puzzle, in all honesty, and it comes back to the first point of what's important.
Yeah.
Because and how complicated do you want things to be?
It is, yeah. Okay, great. I think that's probably a good sort of summary. Are you okay to sort of move on to a Q&A session?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, right. I've got a few quotes.
You always got some good quotes.
These ones that I've got don't actually have anyone's name next to it. If anything, they're sort of maxims, or they might be Warren Shute quotes. I don't know.
I reckon they're Paul Cleworth quotes.
Yeah, let's have a look. So this is the first one. Inheritance tax is a voluntary levy paid only by those who refuse to plan.
I got something which I love, but has nothing to do with inheritance tax. And I haven't got a name by it either. discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons.
Okay, yeah.
You know that? I
Did you
like
write
that a
that?
lot.
Where'd you get that from?
I don't know. I get them. I just put them on my phone. I like that one a lot.
Hey, what about this one? I quite like this because I've definitely seen this situation in its worst case. Inheritance tax planning isn't about avoiding tax; it's about avoiding chaos for the people you love.
Hey, that's good. Yeah. I'm gonna leave you one last quote.
Go on then.
Real wealth begins when you stop needing external validation.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
of course it does. Of course it
Yeah.
does.
Great.
Have you reached that point, Warren?
I think so. I think I've reached out a lot.
You need validation from me to tell you
Is
things.
that
You know
right?
that you're really good. I got one here. The earlier you plan, the more options you keep. The later you plan, the more tax you pay.
I like it.
Good.
Okay, well, let's call that a wrap for today. Is that fair?
All right.
Yeah?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, super. Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Finance Geeks podcast. That's the session for today. We'll be back in a few weeks' time. Take care.
Okay, thanks, guys. Take it easy. Bye now.
Thanks for tuning in to the Finance Geeks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. Drop your comments and questions on YouTube, and be sure to follow us on social media. Join us next time for more insights to boost your financial planning game.